Okay, demand and supply. New topic. New topic. Better visibility, darker in the front. Supply and demand. So let's do a quick revision of last week. What did we cover last week? What did we say? What was the topic last week? The topic last week? Anyone? Any light-hearted, hard-working students? Budding economists? No? The concept of opportunity cost, what was it? The concept of opportunity cost. Can anyone describe it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 minutes. Describe opportunity cost. 6 students. That's it. Okay, let's 7 students. Tell us, what is it?
It's like the next
No,
one.
7
Oh,
students, not the 6.
That's the next one.
Let's go. Since you raised it, huh?
So the next possible options.
Okay, go on. You assume that you are in exam and you are doing something very nice. You explain us the concept of opportunity cost and give an example. You get a 5 out of 10 marks, for example, for last interest, you can ask others.
Oh,
Yeah, very good.
like for instance, if I don't, well, I'll give an example. So
Yeah.
if I don't come to class, then, or like the one that you said about waking up in the morning, if I go back to bed and I snooze my alarm and I keep snoozing it, then I'll miss out on something more important. So it's like,
Okay.
you have to see whether or not you can weigh up the options.
Okay. So the concept of opportunity cost. Anyone else? So you take your example for now. Let's see from you.
It's the measure of the cost in relation to the alternative that you could do.
Okay. Measure of the cost of what you do now, giving up an alternative. Yeah. It's the
It's the next best thing.
next. Yeah, it's the next best alternative. Opportunity cost of this alternative is the next best alternative. So what you do today is measured in terms of what you are doing now is measured in terms of the other alternative. The best alternative that you could do instead of this one. So opportunity cost of you guys studying here is sleep, but everything you could have done instead of coming here, right? That's an opportunity cost, not in pounds or dollars. We're looking at some alternative that is considered the cost. So she's trying to tell us about marginal benefits and costs, I think, right? Yeah. So they're quite related, aren't they? So an example of it is that the marginal cost of giving a 10-minute sleep is basically lateness. That extra 10 minutes leaves you very little time for your breakfast. Yeah, you are giving up the breakfast, right? And marginal benefit of that is the unit of sleep. Is basically their brain. Yeah, you get more better sleep. Yeah, 10 minutes of extra sleep is better than having a cup of coffee, I think. Okay. So these are the concepts we covered, and we'll also talk about what? What else did we talk about?
Production possibility.
Production possibilities, frontier or curve. It shows you. We actually described the concept of opportunity cost using production possibilities curve, right? These are tools we use to understand the costs, concepts, in economics. And we also talked about benefits of command economies and benefits and disadvantages and advantages of command economies and free markets and things like this, right? Quite a lot, yeah? Quite a lot of things that we covered. But I believe you will have time to read them. You will spare some time. Please do so before the next test, the first test. Shh. The first test is soon. When is it? In the next 16th, yeah? So you have about almost 3 weeks, yeah. Today's topic is supply and demand. So we do an introduction to supply and demand, and hopefully we cover much of the topic today. And then next week we spend the 20 minutes covering whatever left over today, and then do some practice exercises. Okay, let's start with these questions. These are, from now on we'll be studying free market economy concepts, not the command economies, right? We chose to study all these. Supply and demand is more relevant, the study of supply and demand is more relevant to free market economies than the command economies. Because in command economies there is no demand. You just eat whatever the government says to you to eat. Yeah? Whatever the government produces is available to you. They don't really let the person to choose what they want, except for what is available. Yeah? What's available? You can choose from what's available. And what's available is controlled by government. In free economy, you can ask these questions. Why does the price of computers keep falling while the train fares keep rising? Since 2010, this computer prices have been going down, falling, right? Maybe even before that. But in the early stages of computer manufacturing, computer introduction to the society was like the prices were always rising. But now the computer price is actually going down. So these are the questions you might want to ask. On the command economy, you aren't asking these questions because the price would be fixed. Government will impose a price, you sell it at that price because government manufactures and sells it to the society. Yeah? So in a free market economy, we are able to ask these questions. Why are they keep falling and some of the prices are not rising? Why? That's the kind of question we want to answer by looking at supply and demand curves today. What are the mechanisms that regulate the prices in the market? What affects the prices and quantities demanded or supplied in the market? So these are the questions we're going to look at today. And learning outcomes are listed here. So we will cover all of these issues today. I'm going to skip them because you will have time for this. Instead, we focus on more interesting, like covering all these learning outcomes. Okay, first is the demand. Demand is basically is a measure of willingness of person's consumption or willingness to consume certain amount given a price. Now, we expect the demand to be kind of person's demand to be modeled with curves, mathematical curves. So we do a lot of curve and calculations with curves and graphs. And the relationship between price and quantity demanded is usually kind of expressed in terms of curves. So we will kind of focus more on mathematics from now on. Okay. The curve that shows the relationship between price. I'm coming back to this. I'm just kind of repeating myself. The curve that we're going to study shows us the relationship between price and the quantity demanded. And the whole curve or whole of this model is called demand model. So we'll learn this over time. And the demand model is downward. Demand curve is downward sloping. That implies for a given price, quantity demanded will decline or increase. Usually, when prices increase, demand declines, right? So think of yourself. What would you do if prices of computers increase? What do you do when the price of computers increase? You don't buy them. So demand usually, quantity demanded declines usually. And we will distinguish the difference between quantity demanded and the demand in the next few slides. And the demand of individuals combined make up the market demand. When we combine all individual demands, so each of us have sort of desire to purchase certain amounts of goods, right? Each of us. But when we sum them up, this makes up the market demand. Obviously, the market is populated by more than the number, 15 or 16 students here. But we can think of this whole, all of us making up one market. Then each of our demand or desires for product is summed up and make up the market demand. And here's an example. Well, there's another line of text here. It's just an assumption that we have to make now. We expect from now on the market is populated by adults, people who earn income and who also save. And also, we also assume that the consumers, the agents in the market, maximize utilities. So by consuming goods, they satisfy their needs and wants. So we rule out, in simple words, any teenagers, any students and things like this who do not earn income. So we expect the population in the market participants to be those who are earning income. So the amount of product that we have just talked about this, consumers wish to purchase are quantities demanded. In fact, it will be useful to say desired, because we could wish to have, as much as possible, but the quantity demanded, actual quantity demanded, will be far less. Imagine the price of this computer is £200. Given our income, we would probably demand or want to buy 5 of them. But in reality, we may wish to buy a lot more, right? So it's a desire to purchase. So quantity demanded is a desire to purchase, given the incomes. So it's first, the quantity demanded is a desired quantity, given our income, given our sort of wealth, let's say. Secondly, demand is a flow variable. So that's something that we won't study in this course. You will do it in intermediate micro or intermediate macroeconomics. Flow variable means basic quantity demanded is a flow variable in the sense that within a given period, given period from one point to the next point, the amount of goods consumed or amount of quantities demanded is basically, demand is measured within a given 2 points. There is another alternative to this variable, it's stock variable. That's at a point in time. Stock variables usually measure the quantities at a point in time, in other words, while flow variables measure the flow of consumption or flow of goods within 2 points in time. So these are the two distinctions that we have to make. But we do not usually stress the flow or stock variables at this stage. We go on to study later. It's best to look at the example here. Best to look at an example. Let's create the demand curve. Remember we said demand curve is downward sloping. As such, it will be the case that when the prices go up, quantity demanded declines. So you can see that first column shows us the prices, second column shows individuals' demands, third column shows another individual's demand for goods. So at point A, when the price is £20 per kilogram of potatoes, Katie demands 28 kilograms, while Simon demands 16. And as you can see, prices increase over time. So point E, now the prices at point E, prices are now £100 per kilogram. Now the demand, Katie's demand is 0, and at that price Katie doesn't want to buy, and Simon still buys 6 kilograms, given the price. So as you can see, the demand and price relationship is negative here. One increasing causes the other one decline, right? As one increases, the other variable decreases. That's why we say negative relationship. That's when a variable increases, causing the second variable to decline. It not necessarily causes, but leads to the decline of that, yeah? The other variable. Now, when you sum this across columns, we will have the total market demand. And notice that total market demand is in thousands of tons now, not in kilograms, because market is populated by millions of people, right? Millions of people buy in the market, not only Katie and Simon. So sum of all the quantity demanded gives us the market demand. So in the market, then at point A, at £20, 700,000 kilograms of potatoes are consumed. And then as the prices increase, the market demand curve also declines, right? So at point E, when the potato price is 100 per kilogram,
the demand is 100,000 only. Right? Graphically, it looks like this here. So the first point, point A, point B. As you can see, as the price is rising on the y-axis from 20 to 40, the quantity demanded going backwards. Notice that the quantity demanded is declining. It is clear. You have done calculus, haven't you? The linear algebra. That's where you study this. So, as the price on the y-axis increasing, the x-axis goes backwards, yeah? The points between the x-axis and the y-axis. So, at 40 pounds a kilogram, 500,000 tons of potatoes are sold. Or this point, in other words, to make it simpler, these are desired quantities that people like to buy. When the prices are 40 pounds, that's the desired quantity, and that's the desired quantity when the prices are lower. So quantity demanded is basically a willingness to purchase, yeah? Willingness to buy. They do not show you, these points do not show you the amount sold at these prices. The amount, no, these are willingness to purchase. So quantity demanded is a willingness to purchase at certain prices here. And so on and so forth. Now, last point, E. Now, note, do you see something slightly not so intuitive here? Not so intuitive, relationship is not so intuitive. Look at the horizontal and vertical axis. And if you are studying in a math course, you would say that y-axis is equal to a plus bx, yeah? So basically y is equal to a plus bx. That's usually what we are taught, aren't we? So in a linear algebra, y is usually equal to a plus bx. So as a result, we are implicitly assuming that y is being determined by x, right? We first input values to x and then work out y, right? So if you look at this graph, and if you see it from that framework, you will see that the prices are being determined by the quantities. In fact, it's the opposite. The demand equation is usually written as QD equals A plus BP. Price being the P being the price, Q being the quantity demanded, right? So we really should switch the x's and y's here. But because the subject of economics is centuries old, back then, I don't know who started it, but they started as a convention putting the price on the y-axis and the quantity on the x-axis. And we ended up having this in textbooks now. It would make sense to switch the axis such that the quantity is determined by the prices, so that the x-axis has the quantities, the prices, y-axis has the quantities, yeah? Is this clear now? This is a slight deviation, but you might ask yourself, I did ask this, it doesn't make sense, does it? It's basically counterintuitive when you look at it. Because we always tell that if price changes, quantity changes. But here is the opposite on the graph. Instead of price being on the x-axis as the variable that determines quantity, it's actually on the y-axis. So that's just for you, to take as a side note. Usually the textbooks do not mention this, but it's not necessary to mention. But intuition is just slightly different in your math classes and finance classes compared to economics classes. Okay, we now have said that the prices determine quantities. As the prices rise, quantity demanded decline, right? Or the opposite. As the prices decline, quantity demanded goes up. Okay, it's opposite. It works the opposite way as well. But there are other variables that also determine demand, affect demand for goods. These are tastes, substitute goods, complements, income, distribution of income, and expectations of consumers. Tastes certainly affected quantity demanded. Have you heard about netbooks? Have you used netbooks? Do you know what netbook is? No? Netbook. This is basically a version of notebook. You know what notebook is, don't you? All of you have. Some of you guys have been using it now. Notebooks are laptops, basically. There was a boom in netbook. Demand for netbooks back in 2008, 10, 9, 10. And then there was a boom in demand for tablets. And then there is a boom in demand for phablets. Yeah? So we see the chronology. Netbook first, then comes tablets, then comes phablets. 2010, when I was walking around, and I could see a lot of people staring at tiny laptops. These are netbooks. And it was a trend. People preferred netbooks over laptops because all we had at the time was laptop, and then comes netbook. So everyone had netbook, and then tablet boom. Now, if you are on a public transport, you see a lot of people staring at laptops and big or smaller, tablets with different sizes. But now you will see more of tablets, 5-inch, 5.5-inch mobile phones. You see, the tastes are changing over time. The trend is changing over time, right? We're preferring different products over time. So the demand for the products is changing as a result. Demand for netbook declined eventually, and demand for tablets are declining now because tastes are changing, right? Our tastes are changing. People used to drink a lot of tea in the past. Tastes are changing. Now we tend to drink coffee, various drinks now, yeah? Or other products, because of trend in consumption changes, we are changing as well over time, yeah? So the demand is determined by first tastes. Next, how about substitute goods? What are substitute goods? These are goods that could be consumed that would still give us the same satisfaction as the original product that we've been consuming. So, for example, we all drink Coca-Cola, right? Well, at least if not Pepsi, you drink Coca-Cola, you probably know the difference in taste. But what is a substitute for Coca-Cola? Not Pepsi, because
No name brand.
as long as it's in soda category, the substitute for Coca-Cola will be non-soda. So you should choose something else. So Pepsi and Coca-Cola are rival brands, but they are in the same category, carbonated drinks. Yeah? But then substitute for them is usually something else, not carbonated drink. Yeah? Water, tea. Substitute for coffee is not Nestle or Nescafe or whatever it is. Yeah? They are competing brands but the same category. Is tea. Substitute for tea is not another tea brand. It's water. Right? A lot of students confuse substitute with rival goods. Substitute is a substitute not from the same category of goods. Clear, guys? What's substitute for car? Bike or public transport? Yeah? What's the substitute for butter? Margarine? You can have grape cheese as well, yeah. Cheese or margarine, yeah? So these not a different label. Yeah? So we have to distinguish between labels or brands and the type of product here. So substitute is about substitute, not the same brand, not the same category of food, right? Not a different brand of the same category of food. Okay. If prices or availability of these substitute goods are great, or we have large supplies of them, then the demand for the goods that we're consuming will decline because slight price change in this original product, we tend to substitute them with substitutes usually, especially cars. When car prices go up, we usually tend to ride on bus or tube and things like that. So we prefer not to. We wait until things change. So this is also comes under the expectations point. Yeah. we expect the prices to change, or we might, even if we don't know, we wait until the prices stabilize. So availability and price of substitute goods is an important determinant of the demand for goods that are currently we are consuming. Now, complementary goods. What do you think they are? Have you heard about them? Yes, sir?
The goods that complement are, say, for instance, printer.
A printer and?
Printing. So you have to
Oh yes, cartridge, yeah. Okay. The complements are usually products that are consumed together. Yeah? So once you buy a printer, without cartridge it won't work. So cartridge complements printer. And if you buy electric toothbrush, the brush head is a complement to it. If you buy a car without gasoline, you won't drive it. So complements, availability of complements, their prices do determine the demand for cars. Yeah? So when oil prices are booming, car sales are usually declining. Yeah, it's too expensive to drive, given the oil prices. Yeah, or rubber prices, tire prices, insurance costs. If they are higher and higher over time, demand for cars usually decline. Or at least we could usually say quantity demanded will also decline. When we say demand for cars, it's different from quantity demanded for cars. The two concepts. We'll come to that in a minute. Okay, and also income. As our income rises, we tend to eat certain goods more and certain goods less over time. So as students, for example, assuming that, let's assume that we don't have the rich daddies, rich mommies. We tend to eat supermarkets' own brand value goods. Yeah? We purchase more of them to save cash. Yeah? As our income, as we become independent and start working, we get high-paid jobs. And then this pay boosts our income, wealth. As a result, we tend to demand more. We're willing to buy more expensive goods as well. So that's income also is one determinant. Another one is the distribution of income. How the income is distributed among the society. If one section of the society is poorer and always remains poorer, over time their demand or desire to buy more expensive goods disappears. Demand declines over time. Compared to one society where they get always richer and richer, then the demand for luxury goods increases all the time. So it's also important to have the distribution income controlled. We shouldn't have a bipolar society where always rich people live and then poor people. The policy that I'll just kind of distract you a little bit and talk about the government policies. Government tries to have middle-income families, more of them, rather than having more rich and less poorer. And one way of doing this is when the person is poorer, when they are unemployed, the government pays benefits to keep buying, right? To keep the demand for goods going, so that the producers produce, they employ, and so on and so forth. So benefits do bring a lot of value to the society, a lot of good to the society, basically. And there are countries outside the West where government is not able to pay benefits, where richer always gets rich, poorer always stays in poor state. So distribution of income is a major determinant of demand for goods. Okay, expectations. If we expect that certain goods prices will decline, we tend to not buy now, so that we can buy later when the price goes down. So expectation really determines the demand today or tomorrow even. If we expect the prices to go up in the next 2 months' time, we buy more of the goods to save and store, so that when they are expensive, we could consume the ones we stored. Yeah? Okay. So these are the main determinants of demand, but not necessarily quantity of demanded good. Sorry, quantity demanded, I should say, not quantity of demanded. Right, so we need to sum up now and then see how it looks in graphs. Change in prices usually entail change in quantity demanded. What does this mean basically? I'm going to draw this on a board for a better understanding, better description of what it is. So this is a quantity demanded, and this is the price, and this is the curve, demand curve D1. Now, let's say at price P0, we have quantity 0. If the price changes to P1, so the sum market price changes to P1, then as you can see, quantity demanded is higher now. Yeah, it's increasing as the price goes down. Notice that change in price is shifting the demand along the demand curve, right? So change in the price entails change in quantity demanded. Now, if any of the determinants that we talked about earlier, tastes, substitutes, complements, and change in price or quantity, demand shifts outward to the right. If they change in a way that shifts the demand, it could also shift downward as well to the left. So keep in mind, prices always influence the quantity demanded. Other determinants influence the demand itself. You see, quantity demanded and demand are two different concepts, yeah? When we say demand changes, we're talking about shift in the demand curve up or down, right or left. When we say quantity demanded, this is change along the curve, shift along the curve. Clear? Movement along the curve. Is this clear, guys? Yes? In other words, if nothing changes but the prices rise, we move along the curve. Or nothing changes but, let's say, tastes change, we move up or down, the whole curve will shift up or down, the whole curve. Yeah? So determinants of demand are different from determinants of quantity demanded. Yes. No? Because you were showing your hand. Okay. Anyway, so let's look at this in this exercise. So assume that there is a good that at the price of P, there's a demand Q0, some quantity. Now also assume that one of the determinants of demand changed, either its price or its availability. Maybe people became richer. Could be any others, and that's what we're going to see. A shift in demand towards the right, yeah, rightward shift. And that implies then, for a given P, we are now able to buy Q1, a greater amount of, we basically desire to, willing to consume more, right, for a given price. So it could possibly be income level increasing. Suddenly we get wealthy, whole society gets wealthy, for example. Yeah, we call this a shock as well. Shock to person's personal finance or income. We suddenly get a lottery. We won a lottery, or like in Switzerland and Nordic countries, government wants to pay people extra cash or distribute the available cash equally among the people. I remember Sweden voted out this. Switzerland voted this out, this idea out. Government of Switzerland wanted to pay monthly wages to people who even don't work and who also work. I mean, everyone basically equally. But then people voted that idea out of, they said no, don't distribute the cash to everyone. So if that's the case, they would have extra cash. Demand for goods would shift upwards. So that would be an income effect. Yeah. And there are others. Let me list them. So these are the factors, or sort of variables, you can call them, or changes in determinants that affect the shift or make the shift happen. So rise in price of a substitute good implies we consume more of the other good because the other substitute is expensive. Fall in price of complementary good. let's say oil price suddenly declines and there is certainty that oil price remains low for the next 10 years. What do you think might happen to demand for cars? It will go up, yeah? Insurance, for example, is a complement usually, right, to cars. I mean, car insurance, not all insurance. There are different types of insurance policies. Or rising income, I've just given you that suddenly government of Britain just decided to give everyone £10,000. Demand for laptops among students, or tablets among students. Yeah, all the young fashion, all the products that will certainly go up. And expectation of rise in price. So I can give you a good example of expectation of a rise in price. Back in 2011 or 10, maybe 10 and 11, I think the then Secretary of Education, Ian Duncan Smith, said from next year, I think from following year, that was I think 2012, the following year was 2012, the tuition fees will be 9,000 maximum. So there was the cap at the time was 3,665 or something like that. So maximum a British university could charge a local student or a European student was 3,665 at the time, maximum. But today they could charge up to 9,000. As a result, you may be paying up to 9,000. Then it was planned to be in effect the following year, the rising caps. Then that year, in September, when I was working at another university, the number of students that we had was trebling. So we had 3 times, or even 4 times more students there than before. But previous years we had a few students, but we also had 40-year-old people trying to study because they said because tuition fees are going to rise next year, we want now. So the expectation of rise in price of education pushed them. So demand for education basically at the time shifted to that rightwards. Yeah, this was an interesting case of economics basically. And as Ian Duncan Smith said, the tuition fee was almost 9,000 in many universities. And some universities who didn't need cash kept the prices low. They charged at £4,000. But now I can see that almost all universities now charging 9,000, like this one here as well. I think they're charging 9,000 here as well. Yeah. That's the maximum they can do if you let them, they're going to increase the prices. But for now, 9,000, I think even it's a lot more than what could be done. I mean, it could be made cheaper even. International students, for example, pay about 16,000. Yeah, while the local students 9,000. At the time, international students were paying 9,000, while local were paying about 4,000. So we have the problem of debt burden now. Almost everyone, every student, every graduate has a huge amount of debt hanging behind. Yeah, waiting for them. The balloon. It's actually ballooning as well. The interest rates are also, interest payments are increasing all the time. Anyway, so any questions on demand? Factors that move the demand, shift the demand, and also factors that affect the quantity demanded. Any questions? No? Nothing? Everything is clear? Everyone is happy? Yeah? Okay, now, mathematical expression of demand. The curve, as you can see, is line. We usually actually show lines, but we call it curve, because actual demand curve doesn't exist. It's probably something else now. But we simplify it. As usual, economists tend to work with simple mathematics, but it gets complicated. So, simple demand function is represented by that formula, QD A minus BP, and with this line here. So, A is the curve, is the slope of the demand curve, and P is price, and QD is the quantity demanded. Now, it's not that simple. Quantity demanded is affected by so many variables, and we discussed them, right? This could be quantity demanded being determined by not only price, but also income, price of substitute, and price of complements, yeah? And at the same time, we could have a lot more variables. Now, when demand changes, we do not usually know what exactly caused it in many cases. it could quantity demand chance. It could be caused by many other factors than these only. We could also have the weather here, weather as a variable, and also we could also have tastes here, not included there. But as it gets complicated, it will be hard to work out how these variables affect the quantity demanded. So B, C, and D, and E are coefficients, and we need to estimate them. And we usually use something called regression analysis to estimate quantity demand, usually to predict what the quantity demand will be. But we are not covering it. It has a lot of problems and issues. Regression analysis is just partial analysis of the problem. Yes?
So we have to know how to use these equations.
Not this, no. The first one, yes.
The first one.
Just a simple one, yeah. If you look at the problem set number 2, there is an example of how to work out equilibrium price and things like this, yeah? That's what we're going to do. If there is a question, it will be more theoretical than mathematical. I mean, it gets complicated, it will be theoretical. Now let's look at how it's how we work with numbers and graphs. That's keep coming up there, that bar, PowerPoint and things like that. I couldn't get rid of it in the morning as well. But the function here is a function. QD is equal to 10,000 minus 200p. If you want to write it down, that's QD equals 10,000 minus 200p. And it's just an example of how curves or mathematical functions are used to analyze. So when the price is £5, we have 9,000 quantity demanded, and it goes on. We've already seen this. Yeah. What we are doing here is we're taking 5 and plugging it into this formula to work out what the quantity demanded is. We're just predicting what the quantity demanded is. So let me rewrite it. QD is equal to 10,000 minus 200p. So to work out what the QD will be when the price is 5 is as simple as just times 200 by 5. You just plug in the value of p into, yeah, and then it turns out to be 9,000. And then you do the next one, so on and so forth. Yeah, this is not that easy. Sorry, not difficult, right? It's something that you've done in the calculus. Or is there anything that you didn't understand from this exercise? Anything? Simple, yeah? No? You didn't understand how we create this? Okay. So, did you understand that we work with graphs, and this graph, the red line, is basically is a line of that formula? Right, okay, that's good then. Now, next, to get the point, if I go back and restart this. Okay, now, what we want now is using the function QD 10,000 minus 200p.
Would they just give you that equation and tell you to work out the rest of the points?
Show us the graph the lines kind of thing, yeah?
So they give you the equation.
Yes. We will do problem set next week, so I will cover it. But just for you to understand now, so that you can attempt the problem set yourself before the class. Right, so to find this point, we took price equal to 10, plug that into that formula, 200 times 10. So that's 10,000 minus 200 times 10 gives us 8,000. Next, we take the price. So the price is now £15, and plug it into the function 200 times 15. So that is 10,000 minus 3,000 gives us 7,000, and that's this point here. When the price is when the price is 15, quantity demanded is 7. So that way we basically plot the line, demand line, yeah? So that red line is a demand curve. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yeah? Next, supply. it's not different from demand analysis. It's not different from what we do in demand, but the factors that affect demand are different from what the factors that affect supply usually. So we have to stress that in this introduction. So relationship between supply and price. Usually short-run supply of goods are different from long-run supply. Because in the short run, effects of changes in factors that affect supply may not kick in. In other words, they do not reflect on the market. But in the long run, over time, we could see the effects. So for example, we said we tend to see on newspapers. Do you guys read the newspapers? Do you usually read them? Make sure that you do read business section, not only the gift gap section or all this celebrity sections or sports sections. Open the business section, and the first thing you see is usually something about Brexit. Yeah, they always talk about Brexit is gonna increase our raw material costs. As a result, supply of goods will either decline or do something. Yeah, we will reduce it will reduce the demand, and such statements. But now, notice that until now, until after 3 months, or even 6 months, we didn't see much of effect of Brexit. Supply of goods appeared to be going well. But over time, in the long run, so this was a short run effect of Brexit. In the long run, with prices rising now, we will see a real effect. In other words, goods will become more expensive in the long run. Yeah, this like the I read yesterday that the certain consumer goods have increased by 15%. So we may be spending now £2, but next thing is that we will spend £2.30 on a product. But when you think of 15% increase on all goods across the board, that implies basically all of our expenditure. If you're spending £100 a month, we'll have to now spend £115. Plus now insurance costs will rise because of being independent of EU. The insurance companies will probably be regulated more strictly. So insurance, and also many other factors will push up the prices because of Brexit, right? So in the long run, the supply of goods change, demand for goods change as well. So short run, we didn't see the effect. We are happy with it, but we have to see the longer horizon, yeah? So these are the two important concepts, long run and short run demand and supply, which I forgot to mention it in the beginning for demand, but over time we learn about them anyway. So I just simply gave you a very simplest explanation of what short run could be and how it could have an effect on, in the short run, how the demand and supply could change compared to long run. Short run changes are usually negligible, we say, in our personal life, but over time, in the long run, these changes have a big effect. And these are the assumptions. So, and we also make a few assumptions here in working out what the supply curve is, or when we analyze the supply curves. First assumption is that we expect all other things being constant, not changing. So when we're analyzing in the line, and I cleared it on the board, when we are looking at the quantity demanded, we were focusing on prices only, right? Explicitly or implicitly assuming that all other variables are constant. When we are analyzing the change in tastes, we were looking at only change in tastes. Change in taste may take about 10 years to materialize. But during that 10 years, income changes, yeah? Substitute goods appear or disappear, the prices change, yeah? So we are basically holding them constant. We are assuming they are constant. In other words, ceteris paribus. That's the Greek word for remain equal. They do not change. And also, we are also analyzing flow variables given a time period, yeah? Okay. The way we construct a supply curve is the same as the way we did for demand curves. So we have the prices of potatoes, And then instead of now consumers, we have suppliers. Farmer X, supply. So at point A, the price is 20 pence per kilogram, for example, and then Farmer X is willing to supply 50 tons. And Farmer X is willing to supply more as we increase the prices. So as the price hits the 100 row, last row, as the price is 100 pence per kilogram, the Farmer X is willing to supply 130 tons. So now you see that the relationship between price and supply is positive. Yeah? As the prices increase, willingness to supply increases as well. Quantity supplied is increasing, right? So it's a positively sloping curve. So it is more like this. So you have quantity and demand. Oh, price, sorry. So this is the supply curve. As the prices rise, quantity supply will go up. It's a positive relationship. Now, the market supply is something that we always focus on, not individual, but market supply. So, total market supply could be different. For given prices, we have supply is increasing over time as prices increase. But obviously, they take different values because the market supply is the sum of all individual farmers' willingness to supply for a given price range. And graphically, this is how it looks. It's a straight line. Usually we call it a curve. However, we don't know actual demand. We are unable to, but we can model them in simplest terms. So, market supply of potatoes, monthly supply. So, for a given price, 20 pence per kilogram, we see the market is willing to supply 100 tons, and so on and so forth. As the prices are rising, notice that quantity supplied is rising. With demand, it was the opposite effect, isn't it? Wasn't it? As the prices in the market rise, quantity demanded was declining. Yeah, we see the opposite effect here. Okay. So why supply curves generally slope up? Why do you think supply curves generally slope up? Simple reason here. As the prices go up, producers prefer selling more at the high price. Yeah? If the prices go down, obviously we do not want to supply more. So that's why. So it's a positive relationship between supply and price. And implicit assumption here is that producers are profit seekers. They want to make more profit from a given product, sale of product. And more profit can be made when the prices are higher. So as the prices increase, with incentive to make more profit, with that possibility of making more profit, we tend to produce more. So supply curve slopes up as a result. Now, what are the determinants of supply? Not quantity supplied, but the supply in this case. Yeah, quantity supplied is different than supply. Yeah, I should say different from supply. So these could include costs of production. If cost of production increases, supply of this product will decline. Because producing the good is not profitable anymore. So we tend to produce less of it. Brexit is bringing in that sort of case now. As the pound sloping down, pound exchange rate against dollar is declining. In fact, I saw an slight increase in the last week because of Donald Trump coming on and cancelling the trade agreement with the Asian countries. And pound is getting stronger because I think, what's her name? Theresa May basically gave hope. She had a very nice speech. I don't know, have you listened to her? Yeah, very positive speech. Well, I hope actions speak louder. But if not, then pound will go back. And may not help a lot to may not be a good help for the businesses. May not support the businesses opening in Britain, because supplies will be more expensive. As a result, raw material supply will be more expensive to bring into UK and produce in the UK. Yeah? If the pound is stronger, we could, for a given pound, we could get more dollar value, yeah? And then supply will be cheaper. Anyway, so determinants of supply are cost of production. If the cost of production rises of a certain product, we do not produce more of it because it reduces our profit. Yeah? Higher cost reduces the profit, usually. So supply shifts. Now, profitability of alternative products affect as well. If the alternative products are cheaper to make and sell, we usually tend to produce them instead of the products that we're producing now. So we reduce the supply of product we're producing now and tend to produce alternatives, right? And also profitability of goods in joint supply also determines supply as well. For example, goods that are in joint supply are those such goods as oil and petroleum, oil and diesel. So if the oil price is high, if the oil price increases, when I say oil, it's the crude oil that is shipped from Middle East and refined to make petroleum, gasoline. Yeah? So these are products in joint supply. If the oil price is high, we will see that the cost of making petroleum will be higher. So supply will decline again because demand will go down. So suppliers tend to supply less of it. And also nature and other random shocks. Well, nature is usually main determinant of supplies of agricultural goods. Yeah. If we see seasons of drought, or if the weather is always hot and no rain, we tend to see less supply of grains or any other agricultural products. Or if there is a sudden outbreak of bird flu, what do they call swine flu, sorry, that affects the animals. Farmers tend to supply less meat. So the nature and other random shocks do determine. Other random shocks could include sudden disasters, earthquake, for example, in East Asia, may affect the supply of smartphones in the UK. Yeah, delay or some sort of war in the Middle East and cuts the routes and makes ships go around the continent of Africa, and that is making the transport costs expensive, so the production costs increase as well as a result. And also, supplies are determined by the aims of producers. Some producers aim to produce cheap, low quality goods, so their supply increases, and it also affects the supply of high quality goods. Because a lot of people will tend to buy this. You know, we have this a good example. I was going to ask that right now. Poundland. And then you have Tesco products. Yeah, certain goods are much cheaper in Poundland compared to others. Yeah, so the supply of pound shops, increasing pound shops, for example, increasing number of pound shops, will determine the supply of certain products. Because there's always demand for a low price goods, right? And producers aiming to sell in pound shops will usually produce more. And you can also think of, from a corporate strategist point of view, think of a company determined to make higher profit instead of higher sales. These are two different terms. With the higher sales, you tend to sell more regardless of the profit. That means you produce more. With the aim to make more profit, you tend to sell quality products, right? Because quality products come with a high price tags. High prices usually are luxury goods. They make huge profits. Yeah? So it really depends on aims of producers, what they aim from the business activities they deal with, and expectations of producers. If the producers are expecting the raw materials to go up in price, then they tend to supply more now. They tend to store more now by producing more, so the supply is flooding. Or if they expect the consumer goods market change in the future, they take actions now to not get affected by these changes in the consumer goods market. So these are the number of factors that determine the supply. Now, these changes in these factors change the supply, not the quantity supplied. So again, there are two terms. If you go back, movements along the let me do this here on the board. Price, quantity, supply. Now, changes in price, for example, declining price, leads to declining quantity supplied. So changes in price determine the movement along the curve. Yeah? However, changes in other determinants determine shifts. So it could be shift to the right, a new supply curve. So this is SO, S1. It could also be to the left, S2 here. Yeah? Now these ones, shifts, are due to changes in the other determinants. So non-price determinants. Price only changes the quantity demanded. Non-price variables shift or change the whole supply curve. It just moves it left or right. Yeah? And here's an example of that case. Looks like there's one slide before we go to that. Okay. Supply curves are also, or quantity supplied is also expressed in mathematical terms. Just like in case of demand, the simplest function for quantity supplied is a linear function. QS equals A plus BP. And again, here, P is the only determinant of quantity supplied in the simplest terms, yeah? In the simplest form of it. And notice that the B has a positive sign, plus sign. In demand function, B had negative sign. And more complex supply functions will have greater number of determinants, including the, I think these are competitors, price of substitutes, price of other variables. So J could be any other items. So this could also include plus weather, nature, plus tastes and things like this. Sorry, tastes do not determine, but other variables that determine the supply curve. Now, they could also be non-linear in the sense that we could have QS equal to A plus B times 1 over P or 1 over something. So it's a non-linear function. But we don't deal with them in this course, and we also do not estimate them in statistics. Statistically, sorry. Did you have statistics course? Yeah? So you know how to do at least a simple linear equation. On my YouTube channel, you will find the video on how to estimate the more complex supply function. I'll upload the link. I keep forgetting when I do. And I'll upload the videos as well. This is being recorded, by the way. I'm recording this. It will capture my voice and the slides. So I'll upload them tonight if I have time, hopefully. I'll upload them on my YouTube channel, which you can find the link for by going into Blackboard, and should be able to upload them tonight. If not, certainly this week, sometime before Thursday. Now, so these are the possible determinants or the factors that move the supply curve rightwards, outwards. For example, the fall in cost of production. If crude oil prices decline, like the stability in the Middle East, no ambitions to invade something somewhere in the Middle East, gives us cheaper crude oil, which makes it cheaper to produce, right? Petroleum and also gasoline. So we tend to have larger supply of that. And when the supplies are large or increase in quantity, the prices decline as well. So we'll come to that when it comes to equilibrium analysis. Then reduced profitability of alternative products that could be supplies. So if alternative products are not profitable to produce, we tend to see the main product being produced in more greater amounts to meet the demand, and also shocks to the farming land, farmers' lands and cattle, earthquakes and things like this determine the supply of goods. And also expectations of a fall in prices usually shift the supply curve to the right. If producers are expecting that in the next few months prices are going down, they tend to sell more today than later because the prices are higher still, right? So that expectation leads them to produce more today and sell more at higher prices because in the next 3 months they will be falling prices, right? So expectations is one of the biggest factors in supply and demand decisions. And also, opposite could be true as well. So there could be a decrease in supply if the cost of production increases, or there are other factors that we discussed earlier, or that the alternative product is more cheaper to produce. So main product is not produced more now. Alternative is being supplied more. So demand supply curve will just move backwards to the left. Now this topic, price and output determination. Let me have a look. We don't have much time. This is now equilibrium analysis, which I will start next week, and we'll probably spend 20 minutes on this and then continue with the problem set hopefully next week. So let me do your attendance at this point now.